In 2021, more than $30 billion worth of ransoms were unnecessarily paid out by small businesses. These businesses didn't adequately protect their critical data against ransomware, allowing PCs, servers, and account software such as QuickBooks to be vulnerable. Secure your business today with StorageGuardian.com. To get an exclusive offer for Theology of Business podcast listeners, head over to StorageGuardian.com to get started for free for 60 days with their Veeam self-provisioning portal. Storage Guardian will also provide expert recommendations on how to protect your company from these types of attacks. Don't be a victim to attackers. Head over to StorageGuardian.com today. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Theology of Business podcast. I'm your host, Darren Shear, and this is the show for marketplace Christians seeking to explore and apply God's will for business. On this episode, we're joined by franchising powerhouse Ray Titus. Ray is the CEO of United Franchise Group, the global leader for entrepreneurs, which has over 1,600 locations and over 80 countries. He co-founded Signorama with his father, Roy Titus, who was also the founder of Minuteman Press. He founded the very first Signorama store in 1986 and has since applied his successful business model to other business-to-business brands. And through his generous support, the Titus Center for Franchising was founded at Palm Beach Atlantic University, where over 60 of their business school students are currently getting a concentration in franchising. So it's really a one-of-a-kind program. And they're also providing networking and education for some of today's most successful franchisors. Ray, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Darren. It's my pleasure to be on and looking forward to this conversation for a little bit now.
Same here. So when did you first realize God wanted to be involved in your work in business?
That's a great question. As I look back on, I grew up a Catholic on Long Island, surrounded by Jewish friends. Okay. So I went to more bar mitzvahs than birthday parties growing up. And my wife and I got married in the Catholic Church on Long Island and moved to Florida, found a Catholic church, went to the church and really couldn't understand the priest. He was from South America, didn't connect at all. And then we started church hopping. And then we started looking for a church, and we went to another church and, found the pastor. He had like 2 or 3 girlfriends in the front row and didn't like that. And we have 3 young kids, and we moved to another church, and we ended up downtown West Palm Beach at First Baptist. And my father-in-law and mother-in-law were kind of leading in this search, and we all went to church together, and we fell in love with First Baptist, which today is called Family Church, downtown West Palm Beach, and fell in love with this church and just the people, and they just really hugged on our kids, and it was really at that time, as a family, that we got baptized in the ocean together, as an entire family together, that we, started the true journey, asking Jesus to be part of our lives and to live for Jesus as much as humanly possible. Okay, and which I think that is a big challenge for everybody, and obviously we're all humans, and so, but going forward after that is when I first realized that, hey, this is now a little easier for me in my business life because, my world is franchising. So we help people start their own business. We help people, we train them, we set them up in the business, we support them. And so we have a mission statement. We have one customer, our franchisee, when they're successful, we're successful. And it's kind of wrapped around our Christian beliefs. And so But we do have to walk the line here a little bit, Darren, because we've got Muslim franchisees, we've got Jewish franchisees, we have from all atheists, gay, straight. We have every type of person in our franchise system. So I have to, be careful, even though we're a privately held company and everybody knows I'm a Christian. I don't hide that from anyone. In the same breath, I respect, the people that are out there and their beliefs. And, we kind of walk the line there a little bit. But I think that out of example, we, being able to, within franchising, help people achieve their own independence and to really promote to them to give back to their communities, to help the less fortunate, to find what motivates them as they become successful. And, for me, it's so gratifying to see franchise owners that have, done so well financially and then have given back to their local communities, and to really to multiply that and to see that work out there out there. So, I think it was really interesting. My daughter-in-law, who went to Palm Beach Atlantic University as well with my oldest son, AJ, and we were talking and she was like, this business is like, this is your mission. This is like your mission field is your business. And we were talking about that. And she's so right. It really has become that. And it didn't start out that way. I have to just tell you, Darren, I wish I could sit here and tell you that, this was all done purposely. But I'm on the same journey everybody else is on, and just trying to walk the walk, and through circumstances, not only full family baptism in the ocean together, which was amazing, but through my parents' deaths and going through that together. Going through, the trials and tribulations of life, it really calls for us to be stronger and to reach out and pray.
Yeah. Yeah. What's an example of a time when you had a hard decision to make in business that really, when you boil it down, was a question of, am I going to put God first in this business, or am I going to put myself first?
My goodness, Darren, that probably happens a couple times a week. Okay. We have scenarios where you have to make business decisions, but you have other, circumstances that come up. Obviously, money is, can be a problem for some people, but if it's used properly, it can be a great thing. And so I think that you balance these decisions that you make, and you can't lose sight of your center. Like if I was, to do something exactly the opposite of not only my upbringing, but of what Jesus would do. I don't know if I could deal with that very well. Although there are business circumstances that come up that it's hard to, you go turn the other cheek. You have to fight sometimes in order to not get taken advantage of. So I think there's a false sense out there to a lot of the public that Christians are wimps. Mm. I don't adhere to that. I don't. I think, as Jimmy Scroggins, my pastor, says, that Jesus was the biggest and best warrior of them all, and so he just did it a different way, and so. I think that's something that comes up all the time, Darren, whether it's a small decision or a big decision.
Could you give us an example of one of those decisions?
Yeah, I can. I have my three sons that work with me. And, sometimes, they're young. They're 25, 28, and 30. And, sometimes they'll come in and this just happened this past week. One of them, came in and kind of felt like somebody was taking advantage of us. Okay. And I guess if you looked at it on paper, you go, you know what? They are taking advantage of us, but we knew it. Did we know it? Did we? And so I had to kind of talk him off the ledge of, hey, let's go legal on this. Okay. That we're going to go after this person because this isn't right. But at the end of the day, it's not worth it. Mm-hmm. And so, are you going to be taken advantage of? Yes, in business. If you're a Christian or you're not a Christian, you're still going to get taken advantage of. Okay. There's a lot of smart people out there. There's a lot of, I don't want to say connivers or, different types of people that maybe don't have the same heart as you might have. And so when they're doing it they're motivated by different circumstances. So I think the idea is to say, we have in our agreements mediation and arbitration. We want to try to get a retired judge or a third party to just say, if there's a difference in opinion on certain things, let's get an elder, not an elder from the church, but an elder in the law, to sit down and work out that difference. So I think that sometimes we lose sight of things that, we don't want to be taken advantage of. You don't want to look foolish, but in some cases, it's just the way it is.
Yeah. And that's a major difference in the way a Christian approaches business law and conflict is, as Jesus said, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the sons of God. And so it sounds like your heart in that was to approach the situation or whoever it was, trying to take advantage and just bring peace and be a peacemaker. And that's not just peacekeeping. It's like, okay, we'll continue to do what you're doing, and we just want to keep the peace, but make the peace. And that's what you're doing by pursuing, arbitration. And there's just such a better path when you do it. I
recently had a deal I did, Darren, that, during the due diligence process, we were told some false claims. Okay. And misrepresented greatly. And so, but the deal was done. And so what I'm in the midst of doing is talking to them to say, okay, this is what happened. I don't want to fight, but I want you to look at this from my side and say, what do you think is the fair thing to do here? What do you think the right thing to do here is? So trying to get something, resolved. This is what sometimes what happens in business, but sometimes you have to fight and you have to stand up for your rights and in those cases. So I hope not to. That's why we have the mediation scenarios. But sometimes you don't have a choice. I've got a scenario right now going on and we don't have a lot of them. We have a handful, but I've got a scenario going right now where somebody had our name for one of our brands in another state. Now we had the federal registered trademark and we have it, but they were that name and no one found them. No one, it just happened. So I don't blame them. I mean, they were just business people in business. They just happened to have this same name. They didn't do anything to me, but I didn't do anything to them either, but now there's, okay, who has the name? And so, what do you say? You try to work something out and hopefully you can, and everybody can move forward. And I still hold out hope that that'll happen.
Yeah. And on this theme of conflict resolution, one of the verses that's been a guidepost for you is Proverbs 18:17. The first one to plead his cause seems right until his neighbor comes and examines him. So, how is that? Can you give us an example of how that's played out in your business?
Oh, that is probably the one that comes up the most. Like, this is one of these ones every day where there's two sides to every story. Basically, what the Proverbs is saying is that before you make a decision, and this is the way kind of I interpret it, is listen to both sides of a story before you make your decision. Don't go off, half, whatever, and make a decision based on hearing half the story. Okay. Take a step back, listen to one side, go find out the facts of the other side, and then make a sound business decision or a sound decision in life. And I think this goes for not only business, but this goes for life as well. I mean, the way the world is today with social media, and as fast as everybody is hearing things, they're hearing one side to a story and they're making decisions about everything. And I'm no different. I like, recently, somebody was outside of Brett Kavanaugh's house with guns and knives and craziness, and they picked him up. I only have heard one side of this story, so I'm not, I don't know. I don't think it's right he was outside the, Supreme Court Justice's house. But in the same breath, I'm not jumping to conclusions about these things. And so I think more people would be, in a lot better position if they didn't just jump to conclusions, and they would listen to both sides of a story before they make a decision.
Yeah. What's an example of that from your business where maybe you did it the wrong way and jumped to the wrong conclusion, and then later found out that there was another side, or maybe an example of how you did it right?
Yeah, I mean, I could give you a very big one where it involved a lot of money. I could give you very little, small ones that, happen all the time. Look, when you look at buying businesses, like I buy businesses, I also sell businesses, but we have 11 brands in 1,600 franchisees in 80 countries. And I think part of my job is to live by example for not only my family and my faith, but for my franchise owners as well, that we consider part of our family here. And as we go forward, you find out something about a business, you go, oh, wow, that's great. You listen to one side of a story, and it sounds like this is a great thing. And then all of a sudden, as you start to develop, conversations or research on other things, you start to find out these other things that might balance it out or actually take it to where you go, no, this isn't going to work for us. I could give you, there was this is a perfect one for you. We were looking at a business. It was a dumpster business, the dumpsters that you would rent outside of homes. And it was a good business, very profitable business. And our thought process was, like, we have graphics with Sinorama and our other brands that we could put really nice graphics on these dumpsters so that when they're sitting in front of businesses or homes, it would look really nice. Like, whether they're bushes or tree graphics or whatever, you've probably seen these kind of graphics before, but a lot of these dumpsters are really not good looking. They're just, either the, green, or in this case, it was black, and they were using a name, okay, that was not appropriate. Okay. And, I talked with them. I sat down and said, look, you got a great business. I think we could really do really well with this business. But if you Google this name, all of these other things come up. I don't want to be associated with this. If I'm going to do this, we need to change the name. And I'll do it. This is a good deal. I like it. I want to do it, but we need to change the name. And they would not change the name. I walked away from the deal. I can tell you that was probably millions of dollars for our company. It would have been a great deal, for them and for us. But that name that they have, okay, they think it's catchy. I don't. And if you Google the name, you end up in not good areas. And I did it. And I said, no, I don't want anything to do with this. And so I had to walk away from it. I wouldn't be able to look myself in the mirror, just because of the money, it's not right.
Yeah. Yeah. What's another principle or maybe biblical application that has been a guide for you in business?
Well, I think giving back is a big part of this. I mean, the tithing with the church, obviously, but we do that. We tithe as a family, but I think leading by example for the community and giving back to the communities and helping the less fortunate. Look, I think we live in such a polarized environment today that you have, people would look at me and say, oh my gosh, he's a CEO, so he must be a Republican. Okay. I mean, they put you in a box, or because I'm this way, I'm that way. And it's not true. I try not to put people in boxes just based on their titles or where they're from. Or I grew up in a highly Democrat area on Long Island. Most of my friends are Democrats, but I lean way further to the right. I'm more conservative, but I don't think every person that goes to church needs to be a conservative. I think that we want to reach everybody, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I think that's one of the biggest challenges the church has today, is to be able to take sides in certain points, but not make it political. And they're talking to a mixed audience. It's not I've watched our pastors. It's not an easy tightrope. And oftentimes I'm glad I'm not up there having to give that, talk. But for me, I think going back to, biblical principles of, turn the other cheek, look out for others, help the less fortunate. And we do all of those things and then promote it. We get the opportunity, Darren, to not only promote that, but to multiply that in communities all over the world. Mm-hmm. So, it was interesting. I had a conversation with one of my close business friends, and he was talking about how franchising is not only, what we do and it's who we are, but we have a chance to impact people's lives much, much more than just selling a product or a service or anything, or the guitar that's behind you there, anything, So I take a step back and take that responsibility, very, very clearly.
Yeah. What's an example of how you really feel like you've been able to make an impact on one of your franchisees, or well, they'd be franchisees, correct?
Franchise.
Yes. And from a spiritual standpoint.
Look, there are times I've actually gone to church and taken a franchisee to our church or promoted our church. I think there are examples where we have pushed folks to, I want to say not over the line, but pushed them over the top to be a leader in your community and give back, walking that line, so to speak, Darren, because again, we have all kinds in our franchise system. And so, it's not Chick-fil-A here that we don't own those businesses. Okay. The franchisees do. They have 94%. We get 6%. At Chick-fil-A, they don't ever have ownership. They can't sell it. For ours, we sell our franchisees business for them and they get the bulk of the money. they may sell it for, millions of dollars, depending on how well they've done with this business. Very often 800, 900,000, that they've had a business for 10 years and they've been able to sell it for a lot of money. And that's great to have a great income for 10 years or 12 years and then be able to sell a business for a lot of money. But we promote them giving back in their community to build and grow the brand. It's the right thing for the business, but it's the right thing for, for humankind. Okay. Yeah. It's the right thing for their community. And so, we have pushed people pretty hard in this area because of, yes, it's good for business. And that's part of this, right? And, you want to promote that, especially today. I mean, it is, people are more conscious today of the things they buy and who they do business with, and making sure they have, similar beliefs or some kind. So it's important that we give back in the community. So there are, I can go, in Australia, we have 200 franchisees in Australia. It is one of the most unchurched area that I go to. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's first world. The people are great. Okay. Really friendly, really nice people. They just don't believe in God in so many cases. It's incredible that, to have a country that size that's so unchurched. But you make your cases for business, and then all of a sudden they're looking at them and they're seeing, hey, I've got to run my business a certain way to do better. But it happens that same way is going to hopefully lead them to church and in their personal life as well. Yeah. That's and I've seen it. I've seen that happen. I've had people say, man, you sucked me into this. It was the right thing for my business. My business has done really well, but I didn't want to lead this double life. Okay. Yeah. You've changed me. Wow. Part of what I do also is I promote becoming a lifelong learner. Mm-hmm. And it is a way to improve individuals. Lifelong learning is critical. The speed at which things are changing today, the speed that technology is coming at us. Sitting here in our studio and where 5 years ago, we wouldn't even think of having a studio. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's just incredible how fast things are changing. So we promote that higher learning and lifelong learning. And throughout those books, I sprinkle a lot of books that walk the line. Okay. And those books are great for business, but great for life. And like a guy like John Gordon, who did the Energy Bus and did the Carpenter, and who's, I'll tell people the initials of the Carpenter are JC. Okay. And so you figure it out. Okay. And so these are books we give out to our franchisees in training school. And we kind of really work with them on this without being so upfront to say, we're trying to change your life. Yeah. No, we're trying to improve your life. Right. We're trying to make it better. And this is what I do. If I see church as a place to go and give back. Mm-hmm. I'll give you a quick story. I invited my sister to church, and pastor did a great job. I mean, he was up there for 40 minutes and he just did an amazing job. And afterwards we did what probably, 90% of the people after church, they're outside or they're talking and what'd you get, talking a little bit, right, about the sermon or what they saw or anything else. And my sister said, I didn't like that one sentence he said about divorce. And I said to her, he spoke for 40 minutes. That was one sentence. Mm. Let's see you go up there for 40 minutes and see if you don't come up with one sentence that somebody else doesn't agree with. But she wouldn't go back.
Mm.
And I think a lot of people are like that. They look for that one thing that's there. And I don't go to church to get something. I go to give something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving to God. I'm giving that time. I'm giving to the church and that time. So when you change your mindset from going to church to get something out of it to going to church to give something back, it changes everything.
Yeah.
And I think there's too many people that they try something and I didn't get anything out of that. Okay. Well, you went with the wrong mindset. Okay. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you start getting a lot of things when you go with the mindset of giving.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. So unitedfranchisegroup.com is the website. What do you want to say to people about how they can get involved with what you're doing?
Well, I mean, look, if there's anybody, first of all, that's looking for a business that they want to get into, I can't make any promises. We've got a lot of different business opportunities that are great here. The promise I would make that as the CEO of this company, I will never embarrass any one of you. Okay. Mm-hmm. You will never feel, anything but great things from our company and business and training and support. And, it'll all be there for you. And we lead with a Christian belief at the heart of our whole organization. So you'll feel really comfortable in this. So if you're looking for a business, that would be one thing. If you're looking for a position or a job, that's another thing. We've got a lot of businesses that are looking for great people. And, you can always apply for a position at UnitedFranchiseGroup.com as well and get that information out there. And then lastly, if you need any of the services that our franchises offer, whether it's a vehicle wrap, a signage or uniforms from Fully Promoted or an office from Venture X and Office Evolution that we have, that's all part of things that we do. And we'd love to have you at the Great Greek to try some baklava ice cream or, any of the great food that we have as well. We just started a business called Gray's Craze, which is charcuterie boards and boxes, which is really, really popular today. And we're really excited about that one growing and expanding as well. So sure, if there's anybody out there that, is interested in owning their own business, getting a job in one of the businesses or utilizing any of our services and as in anything that you're doing there, visit UnitedFranchiseGroup.com. That'd be great.
Yeah. And just to give a quick plug for your center, the Titus Center, you didn't know this before we got on the call, but they recently became one of our clients, helping them out with some web things and so forth. But people that just want to kind of learn about franchising and really can get some excellent educational content on what is it to be a franchisor, or what are some questions to think about if you're thinking about purchasing a franchise. Definitely head to TitusCenter.com to learn about that.
The Titus Franchise Center is something we're really, really proud of. It's at Palm Beach Atlantic University, which is right next door to our church, Family Church. And so, it's a give back that we've done there. But the kids are really learning and growing immensely. And we've got a lot of older students as well. They come online and they go there. And so it's really been great to educate on franchising. Quick story, Darren, real quick. When we announced that and we did the grand opening, one of the reporters asked me a question in front of the whole group. They said, now, why would you waste money teaching kids how to flip hamburgers? Okay. I said, sir, you don't understand what we're doing. We're teaching them how to own McDonald's. Okay. Mm-hmm. We're not teaching them how to flip hamburgers here. They're going to own the businesses. They're going to own and start franchise companies. They're going to be able to have such an advantage. And it just goes to the cynical nature out there of those reporters that often will, just look for the negative on anything. And so, here we do this this big give back. We started a school in franchising. We're teaching kids. It's everything's in there, and you're teaching them to flip hamburgers is what the first question is. So, I mean, it's just a constant fight. And so we just have to stay the course. And I really appreciate the work that you do, and you doing this podcast and getting the word out. I think, kind of attaching business people with our Christianity is so needed out there. So thank you for doing what you do, Darren.
Certainly. Thank you for that encouragement. And yes, I mean, as Christian business professionals, we're not just called to make a profit, we're called to make disciples. And it sounds like that's really what you're doing with these franchisees. And it's not necessarily this in your face, like, let's get in a Bible study and let me preach to you, but let me model the Christian life for you.
Yeah.
And that's how Jesus did it. And people ought to start to ask for a reason for the hope within us, as we go along and do life together. And it sounds like you're really getting a lot of these great opportunities with your franchisees. And thank you for sharing with our audience today and for years to come as people listen and get encouraged by this interview. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom with us today.
Well, my pleasure, Darren. Anytime. We appreciate what you do. You guys, you have a great day today. And to all the listeners, God bless.
Thanks, Ray.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. You can share your feedback and get more information to help you partner with God in business and disciple your company, your industry, and your community at theologyofbusiness.com. The Theology of Business podcast is sponsored by Highbridge Books and Media, a media agency specializing in publishing and promoting the world-changing ideas of inspiring thought leaders through book publishing, website development, publicity, email marketing, social media management, podcast management, and video-based course publishing. Take the next step to share your message with the world by contacting us at highbridgemedia.com. Thanks for listening, and keep partnering with God in your business.